You support Trump?
Yeah.
Why do you support Trump?
Well, I voted for him in the last election, and I guess I don't know. I guess I'm open to whatever, but I feel like a lot of why I voted for him was because of my Christian beliefs,
Hmm.
and I think that now looking back, I can see that kind of like I definitely lean more towards conservative values in terms of like abortion or LGBTQ, but I would also say I do lean towards more liberal governmental issues, if that makes sense.
Okay. So then here'd be my question. Do you think that Donald Trump is a Christian?
I think he says he is. I don't think he actually practices what he says, but that's again his relationship with God. Not really, I can't really say that.
Sure. Do you think that Kamala Harris is a Christian?
Again, same thing. She could say it, she could not say it.
So
Her own
who
personal
who
relationship with
upholds
God.
Christian values more?
I think. Well, again, I think in terms of, like I said, conservative, uh, conservative beliefs in certain in terms of LGBTQ and abortion, but also liberal governmental issues like helping the poor, helping the immigrants. So do you get where I'm coming from?
You're
I guess
conflicted because
obviously
you don't know who supports it the most because you think that, say,
both
with social
sides,
issues, that Republicans are better, and then for economic issues, you think Democrats are better. Is that what it
yeah,
is?
both sides are not going to be perfect. You're not Democrats are not going to be perfect, or Republicans are not going to be perfect. The problem is how do I decide who I'm going to support or vote? Like how do I weigh one issue more than the other? If that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, I'm pretty biased in giving you this answer,
Fair,
but
fair.
so take it however much with a grain of salt you'd like. But obviously, I think that you should care more about providing for like what people need. I think that Jesus in the Bible talks a hell of a lot more about providing for people who are sick in need, right, and for the poor, right, comparative to like talking about restricting women from getting access to abortion or putting people in prison. You know, so
Wait, what do you mean?
yeah, I'm saying in general, he never talked about specifically putting people in prison for abortion, but he did talk a hell of a lot about, providing for the people who are in need and who are sick, right?
I don't think we can really say or give more emphasis or weight into one thing or the other. I don't think that's. I mean, like you said, you are a bias, which is just fair. But I guess like,
I'm just saying what he talks about in the Bible. And like could you give me examples of him
what?
talking about banning abortion?
Well, no, it talks about how we're all known in the womb and how he all creates us with a purpose. And so I feel like when we're aborting a baby, I understand there's also a again, I also find myself in that line where like, of course, if a mother is about to die or something, right? An abortion is the necessary precaution we need to take to save her. I do agree with that. But again, also with the LGBTQ values, I obviously don't stand for that.
Okay, what LGBTQ values do you not stand for?
Well, I don't judge anyone with that, but I don't support the fact that uh, like the Bible says, and you said that man are supposed to be with man, and women are supposed to be with women.
Isn't that a
But
judgment?
again, but again, I don't judge people. Like if that's what you like,
That's literally a
that's what you like.
judgment. That's literally judgment, isn't it?
That's that's not a judgment.
You saying that engaging in gay intercourse is a sin, isn't that a judgment?
That's not a judgment because a judgment would be like, oh, you're stupid or you're idiotic for doing this. I don't think that.
Okay.
That's what judging is.
Can you define judge?
When you point fingers or make fun of other people for what they do.
An insult?
Yeah, sure, sure.
You're defining judge as an insult.
So what is judge in your case?
Well, it was under your view because it's referencing the Bible.
Well, judgment is the definition of judgment is the same definition as always been. So can you tell me what would be the definition of judgment
I
then?
don't. That's not the judgment in the Bible.
So what is the judgment in the Bible then?
Yeah, judgment would be specifically you indicating that you think that they did something particularly wrong, right? By engaging in a particular action. That would be judging.
That would not
right?
be judging.
Yeah,
No, no, no. It would not.
you specifically showing that you
So,
specifically have a disagreement with that would be a judgment. So
so you're
like
saying that if someone is uh
if
obsessed with drugs and they can't get off, is that judging them or is that just acknowledging something?
you saying that, you could specifically bring that up in a manner in which is judging of them. Yes.
But you could bring it in a manner, but that's not necessarily what judgment is.
Yeah, judgment would be specifically bringing it up that they specifically have it as a means to bring attention to it. So maybe I would have put an addendum as a means to bring attention specifically to it within that context. I mean,
Okay, well,
maybe my definition isn't fully like the way I typically use it, but I honestly don't even think that's even relevant to the way that you were defining it. Even if my definition I provide here for judge isn't specifically how I would typically use the term, doesn't change at all like how you were using the term here. You were the one who originally brought up like, oh, I'm not judging, but like at least under
well,
my understanding and the way that I typically use the term, you're definitely passing some level of judgment.
well, me not agreeing on something does not mean that like I'm gonna judge you for it. That's not what it means.
To me, that sounds like a judgment.
Well, to you it could sound like judgment. That's not what judgment is. Like,
Okay.
anyway, we'll go back to the fact of the voting sense. Like I voted for the conservative values, but I do agree on liberal and governmental issues. So that's why, like lately, I've been kind of in the middle, and kind of I'm just struggling to understand where I guess where I should fall in, if that makes sense.
So you don't understand. Well, obviously, you know what I'm going to tell you. You shouldn't fall with the guy specifically that in his big, beautiful bill is going to decrease taxes on the top 20% disproportionately for the top 1%, while increasing taxes for the bottom 80% of the country disproportionately the lower income you get, while cutting Medicaid by $880 billion dollars over the next 10 years, food stamps by $300 billion while adding trillions of dollars to the debt. Right? Like you wouldn't support that policy, right? Or you
Yeah, no,
shouldn't
no, no, no,
support
no,
that.
no, no. That's why I said like for the issues like abortion. That's why I stand on the more conservative values. But with the liberal and governmental issues, that's where I stand more with the democratic side.
Okay, well, do you
But
care about our rule of law? Do you care about a democracy? Right? Donald Trump called
yes,
for the
of
termination of
course,
the Constitution.
of course, yes. So, uh, as a Christian, how would you, what would you tell to someone who believes in the Bible and Jesus as a Christian, how to go about their vote and their perspective? I'm just curious to see what you think.
How would I tell a Christian to go based upon their own perspective?
Well, because obviously a lot of the
Well,
things
I
that
mean,
the Democratic,
I'm going to tell you to not hold to a lot of the values of Christianity because it's crazy and absurd.
what
But
the Bible,
take the good, don't take the bad. Yeah,
so you say like you don't believe in the Bible, yeah, right?
I don't believe Jesus is God.
That's fair. Okay. I disagree, but that's okay. You could think that. So do you think that um if someone were to believe in Jesus or the Bible, do you think that there's it makes sense for them to believe in one side more than the other, or no?
My mom's Christian. I think she should still vote for Kamala Harris.
But
In the last election, and she did.
what does she think? Because
I
as a
convince
Christian, I'm
I
confused on like how to go about that.
yeah I convinced
I'm
her
just confused.
I convinced her to vote for Kamala Harris.
And how did you use beliefs and Christian values into that
Well,
decision?
my mom believes in separation of church and state, so it was really easy.
All right, produce.
And then
All right,
also
man.
like a lot of the stuff that I grew up learning specifically in church was very relevant towards the things that are already valuable. These are already ingrained in the way that she thinks about things. She doesn't think, the CDC should be cut. She doesn't believe food stamps should be cut, that Medicare should be or Medicaid should be cut, right? She doesn't believe those things should be cut. That's ridiculous to her. She doesn't think that massive tax breaks for millionaires and billionaires should occur, right, while increasing taxes for the low and middle class. She wouldn't stand by that. She doesn't stand by Donald Trump, literally pardoning people who pled guilty and admitted to violently police officers on January 6th. She understands that's unhinged, right? His threat to the Constitution and our
Yeah,
democracy, those
that's
things,
fair. Yeah,
right?
I guess so.
Those are
Yeah,
very those things that should be very clear.
yeah. I don't really necessarily love Trump, but I guess why I did vote for him is just I felt like the values that he, especially when I saw Kamala like rejecting people at the rally of saying that Jesus is God and stuff, like saying, "Oh, you're not part of this." It kind of just felt like I don't know, like she was kind of hating, if that makes sense.
So it wasn't because they were Christian. She's Christian herself. It was because they were Trump supporters heckling the crowd, and like there was a Trump rally near that. So they were essentially saying you're at the wrong rally because there's a Trump rally over there.
Okay, all right, fair.
Yeah, like she is Christian herself. So,
All right.
well,
Well,
is there anything else you'd like to talk about, Rod?
no, thanks, bro. I
All right,
appreciate it.
appreciate you
Have a
coming
good
on.
one, man.
You as well.